I'm going to begin on VLSM by making a silly assumption, and that is that you already know how to do standard subnetting. We covered this in CIS 179, and if you have forgotten it, I have a couple of references for you, but remember, it's a long process to learn it. So if you don't remember how to do it, you have your work cut out for you. The first is a video set that I made. It's on YouTube, and videos 1 through 28 talk you through how to do subnetting in IP version 4. Although, of course, you can skip around as you need in order to find the material you don't know how to do. There's also a nice workbook on the internet, and I've placed that in our course for you to use if you want to use that to review IP version 4 standard subnetting. Here's a very, very quick review with just one example in case you've forgotten that might get you into the swing of things. So in this case, we've got a network 192.168.0.0/16. So that means the first 2 octets, there's 8 and 8 more is 16. The first 2 octets are network, the rest are host octets. And we need at least 4 subnets, each with 31 usable addresses per network. So we're going to begin with a chart that looks something like this. And we can see from this chart that if I want 31 usable address, and here's the number of hosts up here, it looks like I could get it from this column right here. Unfortunately, I can't get that column to highlight. There we go. Unfortunately, we have to subtract 2 from the number of hosts because we're going to give up 1 for the network address and another one for the broadcast address. So we really could only get 30 usable hosts out of this column. So we're going to have to jump over to this column and use it. So now we know that we have an increment of 64 in the 4th octet. So let's begin by saying we're going to have increments of 64 in each of these. 64, 64, 64, 64. Our beginning address is going to look like this, 192.168.0.0. Now we're going to increment by 64 in the 4th octet. That's 64, 192.168.0.128, and 192.168.0.90, 192. I believe that's correct. And by the way, we could go one more, and I usually do go one more just for, I call it bookkeeping purposes, in order to find the broadcast address back here that we'll need. So that would be 192.168.0.256. Now, never mind that that's not a valid IP address. We're simply using it for purposes of getting this broadcast address. So if we could continue 64s, that's where we would go. All right, next we're going to do our broadcast addresses. If this is 256, if the next network would start with 256, which of course it couldn't, but we're going to say that the broadcast address is the one before that, or 255. All right, the one before 192 would be 191. 192.168.0.191. The one before 128 would be 127. The one before 64 would be 63. Now we can get the last usable address, and that is, of course, the one just before the broadcast address. Last usable address here, 0.126. Last usable address here is the 190. And the last usable address before the 255 would be the 254. And now, of course, the first usable is the one right after the network address. 0.1, 0.65, 0.129, and 193. All right, we don't need this guy down here. And now our subnet masks, and if we look up here at the 64 and the 4th octet, we see that the subnet mask can either be /26 all the way down. I go /26, /26, /26, /26, or I could look at it and say, well, it's the 192 in the 4th octet. Like that. Now we don't quite have enough room for all of that, so let's see if we can move that over just a hair. Let's see if we can move one of these over a hair. How about this one, the increment? That will allow us to move that. Let's see if we can do this. And now I have to do it one at a time. There we go. Oops. This is tricky in Microsoft Word here. There we go. Of course, the alternative would just be to call it out as a /26 like that. /26, /26. It means the same thing either way. Slashes or the CIDR notation is just another way of saying the same thing in the subnet mask. And now we've got 4 networks here, all 64 in size, that we have subnetted this into. Now we could have gone up into this 3rd octet if we had needed to, but in this case we didn't need to. All right, so that's just a quick example again of how we did standard subnetting. Now the idea as we go into VLSM later is that we're going to not do the same increment, the same size of each network. We're going to change that as we go. So that's ahead.